Don't fool yourself into thinking that next year is going to be better when it comes to the standard of living of you and I, ladies and gentlemen, the average American. Hello, YouTubers. Alaska Prepper here. Happy Thursday to all of you. I was going to tell you a story about Costco yesterday during our live stream, and I forgot. So I thought that I would tell you that quick story today, and I also want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, why it is that 2022 isn't going to get any better. Not because I don't want it to, but because it's not. And this is one of the signs right here. Goodbye middle class. 50% of all U.S. workers made $34,612 or less last year. I think I mentioned yesterday where the average middle class worker in the U.S. now can't even afford to buy a new vehicle with 1 year's salary. I do believe that the average price for a new vehicle is upward of $40,000, $42,000. But let me go ahead and tell you about my trip to Costco yesterday. So yesterday I had to go to Costco with Mrs. Alaska Prepper because both of our vehicles needed to be serviced. And we, of course, did what everyone else does. We walked around Costco and checked things out. And while I was walking around, I noticed a few things. Now, do you all know, if you've seen several of my payday preps, you'll see the olive oil that we purchase at Costco. I think they come like in 2-liter bottles or so. And a year ago, ladies and gentlemen, that olive oil was selling for $19.99, I believe, for a pack of 2. And yesterday it was $29, $28.99 for a pack of 2. That is a 50% increase than what it was a year ago. And I remember, ladies and gentlemen, that about a year ago, I was talking about how olive oil was going to be going up in price because they were having pretty bad harvests. I believe it was in Italy and Spain of their olives, and that olive oil is going to go up. Did we stock up on it? Yes, we did. I even considered picking up another pack of 2 just to add on to my stockpile, but we have enough, so I didn't get any. Another thing, one of the things that I love to get at least once or twice a year is oxtail. Now, once a year, every single year, for Little Miss Alaska Prepper's birthday, I make sancocho, which is like a Dominican stew, and it's delicious. But anyways, that takes oxtail. And so I always make sure I have at least a pack of oxtail in the freezer to make sure that if it's not available, I have it for Little Miss Alaska Prepper's birthday. And then I have another year to find me some, right? If I have to find it because it's not available. But it was available, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it was available at Costco yesterday. But it's a different brand than what I'm used to getting, right? One of the signs that shortages are going to continue, that higher prices are going to continue, is when your brands start changing to brands that you've never seen before and prices start going up. So when Costco first opened, their oxtail was selling for $5.99 a pound. Now Costco has been open for about, I think it's 2 years now. Just over 2 years now that they've been open. It was $5.99 a pound, which at that time I was like, wow, that is crazy. But you know, it's for Little Miss Alaska Prepper's birthday, and I'm going to buy it. And then about a year ago, you probably all heard me, talking about it or complaining about it here. It had gone up to $7.99 a pound. And of course, again, that's not going to stop me from getting it because it's a once a year thing that I do for Little Miss Alaska Prepper. Well, yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, $9.99 a pound. That is an 80% increase of what it was 2 years ago. And about a 30% increase of what it was just about a month and a half ago. Things are going up. Rice was not available. Long grain rice was not available. They did have some Calrose rice. And of course, the price is probably about 30% more than what it was a year ago. They had no toilet paper. They had some water. But the water that they had was like the really expensive water. I forget the name of the brand, but it came in boxes, in packs of 12, I believe it was, or 16. And they came in 1.5 liter bottles. And it was like $24, $23 or something like that. But it was pretty expensive. I would never buy it. You know, I have a reverse osmosis, which is fine for my family and I. They had no paper towels. And the prices on everything, ladies and gentlemen, is going up steadily. I know most of you don't like Vienna sausages, but my kids like it, so I get it. Vienna sausages, a year ago, I was paying $6.99 for a pack of 18. A few months back, probably about 3 or 4 months back, it went up to $7.99. Now it's $8.99. So here, just in a few months, those Vienna sausages that we used to pay $7 for are now $9. That's roughly a 30% increase. All of the canned meats have gone up, and a lot of the brands that we were used to at Costco are not available. They've been replaced with different brands, but the prices have gone up. The only thing that I haven't seen going up in price at Costco are two things in the canned meat department. It's the canned chicken, which, by the way, I think it's a really good deal. So the reason that I think that their price hasn't gone up, it's still at like $10.58. Number one, they had probably a quarter of a pallet left, so they didn't have very much of it left to begin with. And number two is, I think that Costco does contracts with company. So they'll tell a company, yes, for this product, we're going to buy it from you at this price from this date to that date, and the company has to stick to that price. So I'm guessing that once their contract for their canned chicken expires and they have to renew it, it's probably going to go up in price. So get your canned chicken now. Spam went up by $1 a can. It used to be $19.99 for an 8-pack, which is a really good price. And now it's $20.99. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is going up in price, and it's not going to stop. But the point of this video, ladies and gentlemen, is that prices are going up, but wages are not. Wages are stagnant and or going down. For those of you that are going to say that in 2020, of course, income went down because people were locked down, then why this? Why is it that in 2020, billionaires surpassed $1 trillion in gains? In the United States, there's roughly about 660 billionaires. Okay? There's about 660 billionaires, as you can see right here. 660 billionaires in the United States. Their wealth went up by 4.1 trillion. The wealth of 660 people in the United States went up by 4.1 trillion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. I think that's 4.1 trillion right there. Let's see. That's million, billion, trillion. Yes, that's 4.1 trillion. Let's divide that by 660. So the average wealth of a billionaire in the United States in 2020, while the average salary of an average worker in the United States in 2020 was $34,000 a year, their average wealth went up by million, billion, $6 billion each. It's a big club, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're a mom and pop shop, you definitely are not in it. If you can't pay a lobbyist to line the pockets of dirty politicians, you're definitely not in the club. If you're not towing the government's line and doing everything that the government tells you to do, you're definitely not in that club, ladies and gentlemen. That is why you need to prepare. That is why you need to go and get the stuff that you need. I had a good friend text me last night. This after I had already been at Costco, telling me, hey, listen, they're out of this, they're out of this, they're out of that at Costco. You may want to go to the commissary and see if they have some of this stuff so you can make sure you're stocked up for it for the wintertime. And I said, I'm covered. I'm covered. Thank you. I'm covered. But I did notice that. However, today I did see something that I need to fill in a little bit of a gap in. And I'm going to go to the commissary and see if they have it. And if they do, I'll pick up a couple. If they don't, then I do have enough to get me through, but I'd feel a little better if we had some more. But one thing that was encouraging when I was at Costco, ladies and gentlemen, and when I was there, it was around 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was pretty busy. I was surprised at how busy it was for 10 o'clock in the morning. And I did see someone there that encouraged me. I told my wife, I said, look at that over there. And it was a gentleman, and his little, I don't know, his daughter might have been about 4 or 5 years old. Very cute. He was pushing one of the push carts, not one of the shopping carts, but one of those long push carts that's like a flatbed. He was pushing one of those, and his little daughter was sitting on it. That's what I thought was cute about it. But he was pushing one of those, and he was prepping up. He was stocking up, I can tell. He wasn't hoarding. He didn't have 50 of anything. He had a couple of several things. And I told my wife, I see that. I said, look at that. That gentleman there is prepping. He's prepping for his family. He's prepping for his daughter. When I saw his daughter riding on top of that cart, I was like, that's what it's about. That's what people are missing. It's that when you go out there and prepare now, it's not for you. In a way it is for you, but you're doing it for your family. Because you want to make sure that they don't go without. And people can see what's going on. People can see with their eyes what's going on and what's about to happen. 2022, it's not going to be any better than it is now. All of that stuff that's floating off of the harbor in the West Coast and the East Coast, wherever, all that stuff that's floating there, ladies and gentlemen, I would assume that most of it is not food. I would assume that most of it are things that don't bring value to our life. There will be a big sale coming, in my opinion. After the holidays, probably early into next year, there's probably going to be a big sale coming. But of things that you don't need. Of things that bring no value to your life. Those are the things that are going to be on sale. Whereas those things that you need to live, fuel to heat your home, gasoline so you can drive your car, food to feed your family, the availability and cleanliness of water which you need to live, those medicines that we need, those things, ladies and gentlemen, car insurance. You may not need that. That may not be something that you need to live, but you sure do need it in order to travel legally, right? Because if you get caught without it, you'll end up paying a big fine. That's going to go up. All of those things that we need to live will go up in price, and they will continue to go up in price. Don't fool yourself into thinking that next year is going to be better when it comes to the standard of living of you and I, ladies and gentlemen, the average American that's not in the club. So prep now. Let's take a little look at this article. It says here, if we keep going down this path, soon we won't have much of a middle class at all. When I first started writing about the economy many years ago, and this is Mr. Snyder, great guy, I often wrote about the tens of millions of working poor Americans that were enduring so many hardships. But at this point, most of the nation now falls into the working poor category. That isn't because wages haven't been going up. Little by little, wages have been incrementally rising year after year. But meanwhile, the cost of living has been absolutely soaring. Do wages and salaries ever keep up with the cost of living, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, they do. For those billionaires that we talked about a few minutes ago, they definitely do. And let's talk about that for a second. Why is it that those billionaires are becoming even more wealthy? Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? It's because governments write laws, set rules, and regulations that benefit them over us. Because they are able to line the pockets of those politicians, whereas you and I, the average American, cannot. Because here we are enduring the rising cost of living through inflation. Paychecks have not even come close to keeping up with inflation, and this has been eviscerating the middle class. As I've said in the past, and I've said it several times, the end goal is to have a two-class system. The end goal is to have those that have the green pass, is to have those that have the wealth, and it's to have those that don't have the pass and are now in a lower class of society. Today, the majority of the country is in constant survival mode, financially, and that isn't going to change anytime soon. Another thing that I've talked about several times before, ladies and gentlemen, I keep bringing these things up so that you will listen. So that you out there, the average American, will listen. You were not meant to succeed. The school system was not put in place so that you could succeed. It was put in place so that you can have the illusion of success. That's why it's there. So that it can make you a good worker. So that you can make someone else rich. That is what the school system is for, ladies and gentlemen, is to make workers and taxpayers out of the average person. There is a rung of the ladder system that I like to call the rung of the ladder of life, right? So like if you're in life and you start out, you try to get to that first rung. And then once you achieve that first rung, you get to that second rung and third rung. Whereas on the top, you have everything, and then you have all the time in the world to seek out those things that truly make you happy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here he's saying that the majority of the country is in constant survival mode. The majority of the country is now finding themselves in that first rung of the ladder, which I like to call the biological rung. Why? Because that first rung of the ladder is what has all of the things that you need to live. So if you have a job that pays your bills, that allows you to keep a roof over your head, that allows you to keep food on the table, and keep your family warm, you've achieved that first rung of the ladder. That's where most Americans are on that first rung of the ladder. But they're within 1 or 2 paychecks away from even falling away from that first rung of the ladder. You see, once we start doing really well as a country, as a people, and we start getting to that second and third rung of the ladder, they knock us back down. Whereas that second rung of the ladder may be someone that's achieved everything in that first rung of the ladder. They can feed their family. They can put gas in their car. They can keep their family housed and warm. They've achieved that. So now they work harder. They work harder to achieve that American dream. Maybe they can send their children to school. So they work harder and they get their children to school. And then their children's generation, their children do better than their parents because now they have an education that is worth something, that they can trade for a better life than that their parents had. So that generation's made it to the second rung of the ladder, and now they maybe even own their own home with the white picket fence and with Fido running around the yard. Now they've achieved that second rung of the ladder. But every time that we get too high, ladies and gentlemen, they have to knock us back down. Because this is where we belong, in their eyes. So don't think that this is over. Don't think that 2022 is going to come and all of your problems are going to go away. The problems of this country, ladies and gentlemen, have only begun. And I'll be going over that during tomorrow's live stream. Friday, 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'd love to see you there. We always have a good time during our live streams, even though sometimes the message is not that of positivity. We do try to keep it positive and have a good time within our community during our live streams. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I kept saying, continue to prepare. Because things are not going to get any better. And the reason why is because it's the same government that is in charge that has been in charge. It's not a left or right thing. That's what you have to understand. Both wings of the political parties They have the same head. And the goal is to make sure that we stay in our place. Mr. Snyder continues to say, when I was growing up, retailers that catered to the middle class did exceptionally well. My mother was constantly taking me and my siblings to JCPenney and Sears, and it seemed like that was where virtually everyone shopped. But now such retailers are rapidly going extinct. Today, the retailers that are doing well are those that cater to the very bottom of the economic food chain, Walmart and dollar stores, etc., or those that cater to the very top of the economic food chain. And that is because there isn't much in between those two extremes anymore. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, what I talked about in the past, that during all of the closures that occurred in 2020, who stayed open and who stayed closed? Or who stayed open, who was allowed to stay open, and who was made to shut their doors and lose their businesses? Think about how long it takes. If you're a business owner, think about how much of your time you have put into that business. Think about that. And then in 1 year, for it to be gone, to be taken away from you, without you even being able to decide what you could or could not do. The Social Security Administration has just released final wage statistics for 2020, and they are extremely alarming. According to the figures they have given to us, the median wage for 2020 was, as we already talked about, $34,600 for 2020. And for those of you that don't understand what the median wage is, here he defines it. By definition, 50% of wage earners had net compensation less than or equal to the median wage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how many families of 2 or 3 or 4 out there can live on $34,000 a year? They probably can live on it, but just that. Just live on it. Barely. That is less than $3,000 a month, ladies and gentlemen, before taxes. Needless to say, trying to survive in a major U.S. city on that kind of income is not easy in today's economic environment. I would say it's impossible. It's impossible unless you had a couple of jobs and both of you, the husband and the wife, worked. And he goes on to say here that in 1960, a gallon of gas was 31 cents per gallon, and a gallon of milk was about $1 per gallon. And currently, the average price of gas in the U.S. is $3.68, where the average gallon of milk is $3.28. And for gas, that's a almost 1,000% increase in price, whereas for milk is almost 300% increase. But has your salary kept up with those increases? You already know the answer to that. The answer is no. But the message is this, ladies and gentlemen, simple and clear. If you don't think that you need to be prepared for the next several months, if not year, or even years, then you need to take your head out of the sand. You need to see what's going on. How many lives were shattered in 2020? How many lives were shattered for a 2% mortality rate? Think about that. For a 2% mortality rate, how many lives were shattered? And how many lives continue to be shattered because of this incredible inflation that we have going on? They try to tell us that unemployment is 5-point-something%. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that unemployment is 5-point-something%? Do you really believe that the reason that prices are going up is because Americans are buying too much stuff? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. You know, by nature, I'm a pretty gullible guy. And the reason that is because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But how many times do you have to be lied to before you finally realize that you're being lied to? How many times do you have to be told the same lie for you to fall for that lie because you cannot see with your own eyes what's going on?